The first thing I saw when I woke up was the glow of my wife's phone on the nightstand. It was 5:12 a.m. The room still smelled like sleep-warm sheets, stale air, but her side of the bed was cold. I reached over without opening my eyes, expecting to feel her shoulder. Nothing. Just an indentation where she should have been, already gone. Her phone buzzed again. I didn't mean to look. That's what I still tell myself. But the screen lit up with a name I didn't recognize and a message that made my chest tighten before my brain could catch up. I wish the night didn't have to end. For a few seconds I just stared. My heart didn't race. It sank. Like I'd stepped off something solid and was still waiting to hit the ground. I got out of bed and walked down the hallway. The house was quiet in that fragile way it only is before sunrise, when even the walls seem to hold their breath. The office light was on. I could hear her voice, low, soft, laughing. She was on a call. I stopped at the corner, not close enough to see her yet, just enough to hear the way she sounded. It wasn't the tired, distracted voice she'd used with me for months. This one was awake. Warm. Intimate. I leaned against the wall and listened to my marriage unravel in real time. It hadn't started that night. I know that now. But it felt like it did. For weeks, she'd been staying up later, claiming she couldn't sleep. She said she was talking to a coworker overseas, someone on a different time zone who needed help adjusting. I didn't love it, but I didn't push. I wanted to be the kind of husband who trusted his wife, not the kind who counted minutes and checked timestamps. Still, there were signs. Missed calls. Her phone turning face down the second I walked into a room. Conversations that stopped mid-sentence when I asked who she was texting. "You're imagining things," she said the one time I mentioned it. "You're stressed." So I swallowed the doubt and told myself love meant giving space. That night I went to bed alone again. She kissed my forehead, said she'd be in soon. I believed her. At some point I fell asleep to the sound of her typing. Now, standing in the hallway, I could hear her say his name. "Yeah," she laughed softly. "I know. Me too." I felt like a stranger in my own house. Like I was eavesdropping on a life that didn't include me anymore. I stepped forward. She saw me instantly. Her smile vanished, replaced by something I'd never seen before. Panic mixed with guilt, like a child caught breaking something precious. "I'll call you later," she said into the phone too quickly. Then she hung up. We stood there, the silence roaring between us. "How long?" I asked. She didn't pretend not to understand. "It's not what you think," she said, which somehow made it worse. I picked up her phone from the desk. She didn't stop me. The messages were right there. No dramatic secrets, no explicit details. Just hours and hours of conversation. Jokes. Compliments. Shared frustrations. Intimacy built word by word. Things she used to tell me. "He listens," she said quietly, like that explained everything. I didn't plan this. I scrolled back, my hands shaking. There it was, the moment she crossed from lonely to attached. The night she stayed up until dawn, telling him things she hadn't told me in years. "You could have talked to me," I said. She looked down. "I tried. You weren't there." That hurt more than anything else, because part of me knew she believed it. We sat at the kitchen table as the sky began to change. Gray to pale blue. Morning creeping in like an unwelcome witness. She cried. Apologized. Said it never became physical, as if that was supposed to make it easier. I believed her. And somehow that made it worse too. Because emotional betrayal leaves no marks you can point to. Just 1,000 tiny cuts you replay in your head. Every late night. Every distracted smile. Every time I thought we were just tired, just busy, just going through a phase. I realized something then: trust doesn't shatter all at once. It erodes. Quietly. While you're still trying to be patient. "Do you love him?" I asked. She hesitated. That was my answer. By the time the sun rose, we were done pretending. There was no shouting. No slammed doors. Just a calm, devastating clarity. We had crossed a line we couldn't uncross. "I don't know how to fix this," she said. I nodded. "I don't think you can." She packed a bag. I stood in the doorway and watched the woman I married walk past me. Eyes red, shoulders shaking, carrying a life we were supposed to share. When the door closed, the house felt impossibly quiet. It's strange what you remember afterward. Not the fight. Not the betrayal itself. But the small things. The way she used to hum while making coffee, the dent in her pillow, the routines that meant nothing until they were gone. I spent weeks replaying everything, wondering where I failed, wondering if love could have survived if I'd noticed sooner, tried harder, been better. But here's what I've learned since that sunrise. Love requires presence, honesty, and when someone chooses to give their nights, their thoughts, their emotional energy, to someone else, they're already leaving. Our marriage didn't end because she stayed up all night with another man. It ended because by morning I finally saw the truth. And this time I chose myself.